Welcome to Conspiracy Fact, guys. We're here with Brenden Dilly.
Oh.
Isn't that cool? So he's here with us, and we got plenty to talk about. So would you like to start us off, man? Let me start off with a proper introduction, actually. Of course, this is Brenden Dilly. He is the co-host of Your Voice America, still breathing wisdom and teachings of a perfectly flawed man. You can follow him at
Thank you for the introduction, man. I got a new Twitter.
I think you started in one, and you were about 7,000 followers, and you've doubled since then.
Oh yeah, that's the time I went. The FBI, the sheriff's at my house. That's something that's changed.
Oh yeah, I mean that is. I let you the message. You know, I brought it to the group, and we were all praying, making sure that you were okay.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. It's interesting world we're in right now, man. It's amazing when the power of word 18.
Yeah, it sounds just made a pretty bland statement. It ended up with a sheriff or a police officer dropping by your house.
Yeah, I mean, basically the tweet. It was a tweet, man. It wasn't even like anything other than that. It was a tweet, and I sent out basically stating that if you attempt to confiscate firearms in this country, you will get shot. And I said, this is not a threat. It's a promise. And I said, march all you want. It's not going to change shit. And they determined that my statement of a fairly obvious conclusion, you know, which is if you try to enter people's homes and remove their firearms, you're going to end up getting shot. They took that and they basically, the FBI sold it to the sheriff's department that in order to compel the sheriff's department to come out to my home, they told them that I had made threats to go and shoot people.
Wow, but yet they couldn't find Nicholas Cruz after all those police reports to his house before that school shooting, but yet they got you after one pretty bland statement on Twitter. That's really interesting.
Yeah, it was, you know, I sent a message and it didn't work. It backfired. I record everything. So I fired up my phone. I recorded that on Periscope when they confronted me and showed up at my house. I recorded the next conversation when I went down to the sheriff's department to talk to the sergeant. And since that time, they've backed off heavily and got a little bit of egg on their face.
Yeah, it's got to look horrible.
Well, especially for the reasons you just named, man. Like, it wouldn't have taken more than about 30 seconds for a person with an actual brain in their head to read that text and then verify the account it came from and understand the context of which it was delivered to realize there is absolutely nothing, quote, threatening. Because there's no, you know, it's one of the things, that's what they booted the Twitter account as well, is that I had, you know, participated in threatening violence against a particular group. But when you make a general statement such as entering people's homes and trying to remove firearms, you're going to get shot, is not targeted violence or even a threat of violence. It's a statement. It's a fairly, albeit one they don't like to hear, but it's true. That'd be like me telling you, like, dude, if you jump in that cage with that lion, you might get your face ripped off. Like, the shit is not risky. It's just factual. It's like, it's still an ugly sight, but it's the reality of it.
100%. So you're pretty up on the Syria date. Sounds like you weren't panicking too much when everybody else thought we were about to end up in World War III.
Yeah, no, you know what? I've known what's been going on in Syria for quite some time, and I'm also one of these Americans who actually fully comprehend the power of the American military and our strategic locations, the relationships we've created abroad with the GCC, Saudi Arabia and other nations, Israel, everybody else. It's laughable to even think that Russia was going to all of a sudden come with a counterstrike and do something. I find it even more comical because I roasted a lot of these dudes that were screaming about World War III coming. I roasted them 15 minutes after the attack was announced that we were launching missiles. I was roasting people on my Periscope. I was roasting them. And by the next day, we were done. Saturday, I continued roasting these people because I'm like, dude, you freaked everybody out over absolutely nothing. And it's comical because I specifically mentioned North Korea during that scope on Friday while the attack was happening. And here we are 5 days later, and we're on the verge of legit peace on the Korean Peninsula.
Yeah, exactly. And the part I thought was funny because I did see some of your responses after, calling people out. And it seems like you caused a large immigration of snowflakes to your DMs there by stating all that.
Oh, yeah, bro. I've been triggering people for the last week and a half. I do this periodically, dude. Like, I cull the herd, man. I don't want, I don't need a big following. That's not my deal where I'm like, oh, man, I've got to like everybody or everybody has to like me. I'll literally, and I call it addition by subtraction. Like, I'll roast 10 or 12 snowflakes who then go and bitch to all their friends and everyone else on Twitter about how horrific I am. And then when those people show back up, I usually have pivoted back to something far less risky. And then they end up finding me sensible. And then instead of the 10 people I just lost, I added another 100. But I do this literally once a month at least.
Yeah, that's how you get such a huge following, man. You've been doing amazing. Also, we were doing a serious story the same day of the bombing too, kind of along the same lines, saying, everybody calm down. This isn't what, it's been made to be. We gave Russia a day and a half, 2 days warning to get out of the area. And you can see that they didn't try to shoot down those B-1 bombers, right? So it's just fascinating, the way that people kind of fear monger. And it's just really embarrassing when you see, especially people. I mean, I don't know if you saw the Alex Jones meltdown, scripted or not, but it really sounds like people that are supposed to be in the know are really in the dark. And it's kind of like, just makes you wonder.
If you guys want to have a really good laugh, I hate to toot my own horn, but go into my Periscope at The Real Hub Life when you guys get a chance. And I did a side-by-side breakdown of Alex Jones live on Saturday while he was losing his marbles and trying to explain his F-bombs against Trump. I did the breakdown on it. I mocked this dude into oblivion. I got him figured out front to back. And it starts at about the 73-minute mark. And yes, I did a Periscope that was that long. It was like over 2 hours, dude. But that whole Periscope is like full of jokes. And I just wanted to show people, I wanted to put something up against what he was saying with legitimate real reactions, dude. And by, halfway through his explanation, I was hysterical. I literally was crying, laughing at one point because I could not believe that he had went to that point, to that level, trying to rationalize his idiocy.
Yeah, there's no explaining it. At that point, you just got to stand beside your actions.
Yeah, I mean, he went full James Brown on us, dude. Like, there's only really like a couple of reasons someone behaves that way. One, they're heavily leveraged against the popular opinion, and there's something like they're being threatened with, or financially they're leveraged, or they're on copious amounts of blow and booze.
Yeah, I think that it's more of a leverage thing, really. I just kind of wonder where his financial ties are, if you understand what I'm saying. And so I heard you're really up on QAnon, and you might have some good insight as far as, basically the how we, oh shit. Go for it. As far as censorship, Twitter got knocked down and it came back up, and now we have basically free access to people's accounts, like Jack's secret Twitter handle that were locked. And after that, we were able to actually scroll through and see who's following them, who he's following. It turns out Obama is one of the followers of him, and it's been really eye-opening seeing all these accounts that were locked or hidden, and now they're out in the open. This is like I can imagine their worst fear, everybody waking up and seeing all the shit that's been right in plain sight all this time, you know?
Yeah, I got to be honest with you. The dude that they said was Jack's secret Twitter account was actually a pretty reasonable cat. I blew up his spot. He tried to reply. I went back and forth with him a little bit. There's no word of lie. This is like some resist account. That dude DM'd me and was like interested in what I had to say. We kind of went back and forth, debating a little uncivil, and he actually followed me. So I don't believe that that's Jack Dorsey's secret account. I don't know about the other ones, but that one in particular, there's no way that's Jack Dorsey. I know how that little bitch behaves, and that was not him.
I totally laughed my balls off. I did see your response to something like, or he posted to you like, yeah, you called me a little bitch, but I'm willing to hear you out or something like that. And I just could not stop laughing. I think I almost cried, had tears in my eyes, laughing so hard.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said, man. I was like, that was a very reasonable. I was like, dude, well played. Because it was like a super legit, like reasonable response to me just poking him. Because sometimes I'll screw with people. I want to see what kind of reaction I can get out of them. You can usually gauge who you're dealing with. I can usually figure out their age. Depending on the vernacular that they respond with, I can usually figure out their education level, or certainly what their position was. And that dude's response was not Jack Dorsey.
Yeah, it was really, really, really entertaining, man. And that got my applause for the day for sure.
Yeah, as far as the other accounts go, though, I'm not really sure, man. I can tell you that censorship absolutely still happening. We're still having throttling issues, shadow banning. My belief is that they've created these sort of digital segregation. I think that they guide people into certain like funnels, and it's you're in that funnel, and it's only your echo chamber. It's not anyone else. I used to have a following on my other account that was 50% or more African American. Like I had a real legit following with minorities and other people because of my self-help advice that's very raw, very cursing, a lot of very raw content. And I can tell you that once I went the direction of politics, I didn't lose all of those. Those followers were still there, but they never saw my content again. They would rarely see my content. They had to actually manually come to my account. And I think that this is something that they are still participating in, which is funneling everybody into these different groups, so that they're not seeing the whole picture.
Exactly. It's like a filtering kind of process is happening, and it keeps us from being seen by the majority of people, which is really sad. We do a lot of tricks over here, like putting the dot sign in front of the @ sign, and it helps whoever you're targeting to followers, and it's still, having a rough time getting through.
That's interesting. I didn't know that trick. I'll have to see. Can I use that? How does that work? What do you do?
Yeah, just I'll give you a little run through later, bro. Don't even worry about it. And it's basically if you put the period before the @ sign when you're using the @ whatever the handle is, it shows for all their followers, and so everybody gets to see it instead of just whoever's kind of following you or friends of friends kind of thing.
Oh yeah, that I've done. I've done that. I don't know. All I can tell you is they're still participating in this censorship. I think they're scared shitless right now because I think that if they were to allow all of us into one room the way it was supposed to be set up, the social media, I think that they would be freaked out at how quickly Americans would reach consensus on a lot of these issues.
Yeah, I think it'd be surprising how many Americans are really on the same page with most of these big controversial issues,
Absolutely.
I think even people that are on the other political spectrum can agree that censorship is wrong in any form, especially when we're really not committing any kind of hate crime or even that vulgar language most of the time. It's just us trying to express truth or open people's eyes to reality, and it's completely just squashed, Well,
I was trying to explain this the other day, man, because I went in dry yesterday on John McCain. A lot of people got triggered over it. Had about 10,000 views on that video from me roasting him and his shit ass family. And I try to explain this to people. My use of the language, curse words, dude, that's me owning an AR-15. That is the first dimension of an rifle. Because if you don't continue to push back against that, just like if you don't push back against them saying you can't own an AR-15, eventually guns, and you'll end up being left with some shit gun that they'll start telling you can't own certain calibers. I feel the exact same way about. I deliberately try to inflame people, and I push the boundaries of what you're allowed to say socially for that very reason, because I'm allowed to own all of these words. And I don't give a shit how it makes you feel. I realize it's politically correct, or ever, actually, if that's my objective. And I'm going to use different terms and different statements specifically for the reason of flexing that First Amendment right in a way that I'm able to preserve it and maintain it.
Exactly. And also, a lot of this stuff just gets twisted by liberals, any kind of infringement, and which we really shouldn't be having any infringement. It's not like, only these laws are protected. It's completely covered, but yet they want to keep trying to chip away at it and to eventually destroy it, end up like Australia or something after sons.
Well, and that's just it, dude. I think that, I'm a big subscriber to free market everything. The free market will tell you if you have shitty ideas. I roasted McCain, yes, bunch of conservatives that came, a little bit upset, a little triggered a bunch of other hosts of their own shows, whatever. And the reality is, getting followers through that. At the end of the day, dude, the people are going to tell you what they accept and what they won't accept. And when you say stupid shit, you end up with things. Your account shrinks. You lose financials. You lose people lose interest. It's more than 5 or 10 triggered sissies. So I use that as my barometer, man. As long as I'm reaching an audience and it's growing, then we're doing the right thing. It's okay to lose people along the way. There's people who are going to be really upset, and that's fine. But I don't believe in self-censorship at all. I believe that is I think straight up, dude, is un-American.
I would agree with that. I would have to. What else is pretty un-American is all this privacy and data infringements that's happened on Facebook. Did you catch that Mark Zuckerberg Congress testimony?
Yeah, I actually covered it too. I did a live broadcast during that. 2 things that jumped out at me. Zuckerberg doesn't know shit about the company in which he runs, and the people asking him questions don't know shit about technology and are way too old to be on Capitol Hill. That was probably the most apparent thing from both of those situations. I'm like, this cat cannot speak with any real intelligence about certain aspects of his business. And these people asking questions literally had staffers write them up because they don't even understand what's occurring. I think it was one of the biggest jokes of a hearing I've ever seen in my life, dude.
One positive thing we learned from it, though, is that just we can express our concern to our, of course, representatives, and they'll actually pass along the message. We, as long as we're active and we get our voices heard, that's the first step towards changing everything. And the first thing I noticed was, how many times does he have to refer to his team? He's like, I don't know, man. Let me just get back to my team and we'll figure it out, sooner or later, maybe. Like, really? You must have a super team, bro.
Yeah, it was obvious, dude. He just doesn't really, I don't know, man. He didn't strike me as a genius. If you the comparison I made was, if you put Elon Musk down in that same hearing, Elon can speak with fairly specific detail into the technology and in the ins and outs of his business. Whether you like him or not is irrelevant, but he at least is fluid in his answers. I found Zuckerberg to be a guy that was really either he was hiding things, or more likely is I just think he flat out didn't know the answers to a lot of the very relevant and what I felt were simplistic questions.
And he cannot write code.
Yeah, no, I can't either, so I can't knock him. I just know he sat on a baby seat, like a donut booster seat thing, and that was weird.
And this whole Pentagon killing the LifeLog project the same day that Facebook starts up, it's a coincidence, right? Just a coincidence?
Yeah, you see a lot of those these days, man. I mean, they're I just saw a headline just before I came on with you guys, and I don't know if there's anything to dig into. It sucks, it's sad, but I saw McMaster's father died. I don't know if this was just in the last couple of days, but he was in a retirement community in Philadelphia, and he died from blunt force trauma to the head. They said from an, quote, accidental fall, but it's now being investigated for elderly abuse or negligence. I don't know what the deal is there. Very strange, though, that man would have something like that happen. An elderly man like that would die that quickly right after his son leaves his post. Very strange.
Yeah, we're speculating that was a message sent to the to McCabe.
That I wouldn't put it past these entities, these people. I think that sucks, man. I think there's a lot of collateral damage on, and I think there's a lot of, I've said this before, and, I appreciate you guys because you're willing to look way beyond what appears to be the answer, right? And one of the things I've been trying to preach to my audience and even to the Your Voice America audience, which tends to be a little bit more generic, I try to get across to people, man, it's not as simple as who's a good guy and who's a bad guy. It is not that simple, especially when we're dealing with our military men and men and women. And I think that's one of the things that makes it really hard for people to follow these stories of the deep state, is because sometimes you have good people doing bad, and sometimes you end up with bad people that are leveraged and are able to do something good, which is what I tend to believe is happening right now with the Mueller investigation. I think you got a bad guy who's highly leveraged and is going to end up being a total benefit to the Trump administration.
100%. He's basically a traitor turned into an asset. We completely agree with you. He's ex-Marine. He has so many different aspects of why he would be put in a position to help out. That whole interview under the guise of a director, which we knew that he can't have, right? Because he's already had his tenure. So it just, there's a lot of things that don't add up. That was a 2.5 hour interview, that they had, by the way. And I think that that's kind of where they just went over the overview of what that investigation was supposed to look like, right? And you consider that he has unlimited funds through that, complete privacy of what he's investigating, unlimited time, which Trump could have, after the first year, been like, what's up with the time limit, man? This is a witch hunt, and he hasn't pushed those buttons yet. So it's pretty apparent, especially when Q keeps mentioning, trust all these people, trust Sessions, trust Ray, trust Horowitz. And one of the mind-blowing things that we found when we were investigating the SES is that Horowitz is number 174 on the list. And we imagine that he's probably, had to have his, fair share of dirty stuff, maybe up to his knees under Obama. But now he has free reign to basically investigate what he's probably been trying to do the whole time,
Well, and I think one thing that people don't realize is Horowitz, while he was an Obama appointee, my understanding is they don't like each other. That Horowitz tried to do his job and was stonewalled continuously by the Obama administration. You've got nuclear bombs going off right now on the intel side today, I think. I mean, we've got revelations that are starting to peek their heads out of basically, I think you're going to end up having Obama and a lot of these people just absolutely nailed with caught red-handed. I mean, we're talking about, why? How did the Hillary investigation get wrapped up? Why did it get wrapped up? About the fact that Obama had emailed Hillary on her private server, and that was part of what got washed. Instead of stating that she had emailed, emailed Obama, they stated in the write-up that she had emailed somebody within the administration. A senior official in the administration. That senior official was Obama. But if you use his name, you then obligate Comey into investigating him during 2016, and it gets way worse. All of this stuff is coming. It's percolating below the surface. It's getting closer. I think there's a lot of things happening right now that I don't trust, and I'm still trying to figure out, is the behavior of James Comey, the guy who knows he's being investigated. He's being recommended for a criminal indictment. You got all this strange behavior, and dude's he's not even remaining silent. He's out here on a talk show tour. And then today, when he finds out he's being investigated, his first response to that news is that he trusts the OIG's report and wants to see what's in there. And he's giving it essentially more credit and more value. I can't figure this move out for the life of me. It's kind of like when he threw Loretta Lynch under the bus, unnecessarily so, during that hearing last year.
Panic mode, enjoy the show. This is just him shifting all over himself. He has no moves left, and he's stuck. He really is. He got caught. You saw that live interview he was in, right, where they brought up that whole Inspector General's report. It was hilarious, his reaction.
But that's what I'm saying, dude. They brought up that the Congress had recommended charges for him today. And his first response was, well, whatever. He shrugs his shoulders and he says, I'll wait report to come out. Why would he wait for the OIG report to come out when he just saw it nailed his friend McCabe just last week? Something stinks in that situation, man. I don't know if Comey already flipped on these fools, if he's one of the people that already flipped, or if he's stupid, which is certainly possible, by the way.
He's that stupid.
Yeah, it's hubris, right? Like, I'm literally watching in disbelief. So you guys agree with me. It's either he flipped or he literally is that dumb and full of hubris.
Either one is going to be entertaining to watch the end, the fireworks, the April showers.
Yeah, he's going to be sticking to a stupid story.
Have you heard anything about these videos that are going to be coming out, like Tarmac or that HRC video?
Yeah, my source, had given me intel months ago. And a lot of it was, it's weird because a lot of it is stuff that it's happening right now. A lot of it's shit I didn't even report. I just sat on, I don't even know what to do with this. The videos, it was something I reported. I talked about it at the time back in late January, February. Tarmac video, I believe, is going to be one of the first ones. President Trump alluded to it already. They've got all the raw data. As far as anything more salacious than that, I guess we'll have to wait and see. I'll be honest with you. I hope there's nothing worse than that. I think there probably is, but I'm hoping that, I'm going to have to take somebody's word for it. I don't have an interest. Tarmac video, I think, would be hilarious just because of what the implications of that would be.
Oh, 100%. I do believe that the Tarmac will come out first. And we all know that that's going to basically, of course, implicate tons of people, Loretta Lynch, Bill Clinton, and Hillary Clinton, and probably even more than that. That's just, the top initiation, the first initial few. But also the HRC video, we had a story, we came across an article about, it was, I think, a New York police chief, I want to say, and he basically is one of the first people that got to, and of course after the rape of a minor with Hillary Clinton and Huma being the guilty parties, they actually take a underage girl, like a child, a prepubescent child is described, and her face off while she's alive, and then eat it and cackle. Like, these people are evil and stupid.
Yeah, again, dude, that's horrific. Obviously, God forbid. I hope that didn't happen. I'll be frank with you. I don't, that doesn't need to happen in order for you to send Hillary Clinton to the gas chamber. That doesn't have to have happened. If it did, obviously, I hope these people are prosecuted. I don't know, man. There's so much conjecture, and I think that we end up going down channels that yield very little. And I think that part of this process with Q or with anybody else who's sharing intel or giving out information is you've got to bring people along slowly. You start going too far one direction, and we all end up sounding like Alex Jones, and you unfortunately end up getting discredited simply because how the topic is. Not to say it's not true, only that there's a path you've got to travel down to get people to arrive. If that makes sense.
Completely. I believe that we're still in the setting the stage phase of it, and from what I've seen, from what I've heard of people trying to acquire the actual video, and so that we can get it to as many people as we can, so that there's no fear of it being a trap, which it is appearing to be, actually, because from the attempted downloads, there were encoded little commands, we'll call them, and we just totally backed out. It seems to be a trap, and maybe their last-ditch effort, the deep states, to attemptedly trap kind of charge or for the CPE or something. And I wouldn't recommend anybody trying to download it. I really wouldn't. However, if anybody does have it, which we believe that there's, of course, multiple people that it's in the hands of, just try to spread it. Get it to, FBI, of course, police agencies, news, just get it to people. But be really careful, and I wouldn't go searching for it. That's all I really got to say.
Hey, I want to get you guys' opinion because you guys are smart cats. What is the deal with these? Someone started tagging me in these weird-ass videos on YouTube, and they're really weird. They got subliminal messaging and a bunch of other crap. Is that a hoax, or is that something that...
Are you referring to the Kill Rogue Twitter with short... I believe one of them is actually a trailer to the HRC video. It appears to have, when you slow it down to 0.2, Huma's face. We've came up with the pictures, and it's one with the red background in her face and red lipstick, and then there's another one with her in a mask and her having the finger, and it does appear to be almost a trailer of sorts. It's got Hillary's campaign button with the H in it, right? And
is that the one I'm thinking of? Is the one I'm thinking of looks like when if you've ever seen how they used to do remote viewing videos. Have you guys ever seen those?
I can't say.
All right. There's some weird ass videos. I'll forward it to you, bro. You guys can investigate it. Somebody forwarded me some strange stuff. It looks like the old school 1970s remote viewing like process when you get into that. But there's a bunch of weird crap in them. There's definitely subliminal messages. What's weird is it's basically what my understanding is. It's the Q drops a month in advance through subliminal messaging. And in this really weird audio. And the thing that's crazy is the dates and the timestamps are like a month before any of this stuff occurred, or even before Q himself posted his drops online.
Well, I think I did catch a whiff of that, and it was way too kind of abstracted at that point. A lot of the stuff when it comes out, it's still very, very cryptic, and we have to decode it quite a bit through a few stages normally. We've found all sorts of different things, and that one we're not sure about. Yeah, so.
If someone hit me with it yesterday, it might be worth just, I don't know. You never know. Some of this stuff is just like, it's going to be nonsense, but some stuff, only because I've actually seen legit remote viewing type videos and stuff, that those ones sent up could be total BS, but I was like, wait, because this feels and sounds a lot more like passing a message on to a large number of people that are in the know.
Yeah, that's insane. That's really insane.
Yeah, it's interesting watching this whole thing transpire, because I think that at this stage, there's way too many coincidences in various facets of life. I mean, we're watching it all kind of culminate in front of us, and it's so pervasive. It covers so many different elements of American day-to-day life. I think a lot of people can't even wrap their mind around just how vast of a project this is and how at it. I've even started to ask myself, how far back could military intelligence have begun this process? Does it go back 5, 10, 15 years? Is that why a lot of the same people we see from 2000, the year 2000 and beyond, are now the central figures of these scandals and themes? These military men, these different FBI agents, how long did this go? It really has me wondering, because they've been so meticulous in how this has all come out. And I just don't see this being something you only planned a couple of years ago.
Well, yeah, exactly. This, from our research, has been going on, the Illuminati, believe it or not, of course, I bet you do, but Illuminati's real, and it's been around at least since the established date, which is when the late 1700s. And they've been playing this long game for hundreds of years. Even people that live really long, like Rockefeller, they play the long game. They know that even if they don't accomplish it in their lifetime, they believe so much in their bloodlines and stuff that, they'll reincarnate essentially, or come back basically and some other kind of, different aspect. And that they're willing to basically play that, because their end game is their end goal is really believing in basically revolutions type apocalypse, where they're basically, of course, on the bad side. And it's just really scary knowing the enemy that we face believe in that apocalyptic, end of the world.
Well, and that's what I'm getting at, though, dude, is like, I know that they've been dug in. What I'm saying is the good guys, the people, Trump's real life Culper ring, where this is like the reimagining of Washington's Culper ring, and we're seeing it. It makes me wonder, is this an op that started way back? I mean, how long have they been trying to root out this power structure? You know what I mean?
Oh, we got a pretty good answer for you for that. So, of course, initially it was JFK. He had that quote about dismembering the CIA into 1,000 pieces, right? Splintering it as the actual quote. And, of course, he died for that, trying to expose the secret societies. And then we might have had one more, actual president of the people in between him and Trump. But Trump, I think, has been in this plan, which has been going for over 3 years. I would even like to say in the first term of President Obama, he went at an unprecedented rate, firing generals, mostly without cause or, just cause. And they kind of got woke to it. What was happening? It was a systematic weakening of our military. And so they basically came up with what was at the time going to be a coup, but they decided to do it the right way and wait, since it was already about, this time where Obama got a second term. And they just planned the last 3-4 years on this. This is years in the making, and it's so beautiful. This is such a feeling of destiny, and God's work. We're doing the greatest fight for the greatest purpose,
Absolutely. Well, and that's kind of what I was getting at. I wonder if it even goes back further. I think that in the corners of our military intelligence communities for God knows how long, maybe more than a decade, this was already in process. Guys like General Flynn, guys like Mattis, guys like Admiral Rogers, who, you got to understand, these guys have been in for decades, collecting data, collecting information, corruption, identifying people that are acting against the country, but couldn't do anything with that information. That's kind of what I'm getting at, is I'm wondering, if we will ever find out just how long these gentlemen and some of the women involved in the military intelligence communities were working alongside one another to root out and identify the enemy within, waiting for their day to basically be able to act on this situation. So that's just the only question. I think that, yes, you're right. 3-4 years with President Trump in the fold, but I think this goes back even further.
Yeah, I have no doubt that it probably does. You're right. And it takes so much planning. And, if you're talking about 4 chess, Hendy chess, no joke.
That's right. Well, and in all these military members, the intelligence communities, NSA, we now know that they're actively using artificial intelligence to solve a lot of these problems, predictive, materials, stuff where they're going to know what's happening. And I think I think you're seeing the culmination of all of it. But what the weird thing is you're seeing it utilized within our own country to root out those who are against it.
Yeah, I think we're actually really close to watching a lot of massive dominoes go down. Like Hillary Clinton, there's so many kind of lit wicks, right, leading all the way back to her. And, Uranium One's closing in. We got, of course, the Comey is over, McCabe's over, all these things. Loretta Lynch is about to be outed completely, and Obama's coming out. Like, it's all hitting the fan. So beautiful.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I think a lot of Americans have known we've been in a rigged system, in a rigged government, in a rigged community for quite some time. I mean, we recognize this. People who have experienced legitimate freedom in this country can speak to that, what it was like when this country was still a free nation and their dollar still did have value. So I think that's one of the things that people are just so ready to experience that once again.
I have hope for having a future that's been brighter and more beautiful than anything that I can remember in the past. I'm going to have a beautiful future for my daughter, and that's worth fighting for with everything.
Oh, absolutely, man. I think one of the coolest things, I'm going to be honest with you guys, it's been, 12, 13, 14 hours since I got the news this morning, but I'm like, dude, like, they cleaned up the CIA. Like, are you kidding me? Like, Pompeo went to, and goes and negotiates and hammers out basically peace with Kim Jong-un. Completely, not one leak, not one, nowhere. Deep state didn't know, nobody knew. I mean, that's got to give you I know it did for me. It gave me so much confidence in this president and in this intelligence community that these back channel, life-altering, decades-long changes in negotiations are occurring completely unbeknownst to the deep state, any media members, or the general public. I mean, that says so much about the absolute grip they have on these different institutions at this stage of the game.
Completely. He has complete control. He has outlasted everything that they have tried to throw at him, right? The whole mental health, the physical health, just everything. They call him insane, and he's turned out to be more of a genius than I think any of us even had any fathom of being possible. Like, we all knew that he was going to be, a great negotiator for our country. But I mean, he wrote the art of the deal, right? But everybody, even people that were Trump from the beginning, are like, wow, I had no idea all this stuff that he was going to accomplish. Not only that, but completely dismissing and shutting down all the mainstream media, getting no positive coverage, and even being at a higher level of public approval than Obama was at this point in his presidency.
Oh, for sure. And like, look, I think all of us, we voted for President Trump because we voted for a certain agenda. But I'll be honest with you, dude. I thought, okay, if he can get a wall built and a couple other things, I'll be happy with that presidency. We're 15 months in. I'll be honest with you, dude. I at no point when I was leading up to the election was I thinking in the first year and a half he's going to take care of that 68-year war on the Korean Peninsula, get Russia to bend the knee, get China to bend the knee on trade deals. And I mean, he is so exceeded, I believe, at least my expectation level. And maybe I had a very low expectation level thanks to years and years of shitty politicians running this country. But some of this stuff, like, I woke up today and I just went, are you kidding me? Like, really? And even like compared to how many leaks that were going on out of that administration the first 6 months as he's cleaning house, to get to the point that you're able to cut a deal, one of the biggest news stories in God knows, and you did that without a single anybody talking about it. Nowhere, anywhere was that leaked. I mean, that's incredible, man. That's miraculous.
And with the plants and the initial leakers and all the other stuff that he's had to and like, you're just listing off boom after boom after boom. I mean, he's literally been just crushing it for America. We have Ford already in China. We're doing better than China's doing in their own turf, right? As far as cars go. And now we have the lower tariffs. We have Iraq, North Korea, which has united and is in the process of denuclearizing at the moment, if it's not already done. We shut down Iran already under the guise of this Syria, which I think might have been even an impromptu kind of improvised. There we go. Little face melted. Improvised strategy there after he tried to announce the pullout and they tried to just launch the gas attack, right? And then it's just so amazing. He gets all the black hats that are trapped behind enemy lines, and the next target we going after before anybody has any clue, just like you were talking about. Just boom, boom, boom. And I just dropped a meme. He's like, this is easy. What else can we fix? Bring me more shit to fix.
No, seriously, dude. I mean, like, that's one of the things that people, in the American public is completely unaware of what is occurring right now. They don't even understand. I mean, you are actually looking at a guy that's in the process of negotiating and executing legitimate peace in the Middle East, a denuclearized North Korea, no longer threatening our shores or islands, and now a Russia that's looking at us like, yeah, you know what? Let's go ahead and we want in on that trade action. I mean, that is stunning. I mean, there's certain institutions that I know that you have an intelligent audience. A lot of us, dude, no matter how much faith you had, looked and went, man, really? Like, there's no way we're ever going to beat these guys. Too much money, too much power. And I'll give you the one thing that I'll tell you that you're going to have to pinch me. The one thing that's like in my mind, dude's going to walk on water next is how he handles the Federal Reserve. That to me is the top of the food chain.
100%. How do you think he's going to go about that?
Well, we know Steve Mnuchin's a gold guy. I'm not going to sit here and insult your audience by pretending to be intelligent enough on economic currency situations. I just am not. I mean, I have a very rudimentary understanding of it. I couldn't tell you exactly how he's going to do it. But if he pursues it and executes the plan and actually is able to do it, I don't even know what I'm going to do with myself.
100%. We've postulated a few theories, but just kind of what we've been kicking around is just that he might go towards either a gold-backed cryptocurrency or just a gold standard. We're basically are going to be looking at the end of the fiat currency and the Fed, or at least we're all praying, right? But that's kind of what the signs are showing.
Absolutely, you're right. And I've heard also rumors, that we could go towards the model that was discussed in the 80s, which was a combination gold-backed currency. It was gold and something else. I can't remember. I know there was a plan and it had been discussed in the 80s that Mnuchin was a fan of, and it never came to fruition. So I'm wondering if something like that could be implemented as well. No matter what it is, dude, it's going to be creative, and it'll probably be something that none of us see coming. Just like, dude, I don't care how closely you're following the news. Nobody woke up today and thought they were going to find out that North Korea and South Korea were on the verge of like peace talks, like done, like literally ready to denuclearize. Nobody saw that coming. I don't care how close you're watching the news or what's happening. And so I'm wondering if something similar when it comes to dealing with our currency issues.
Well, actually, if you've been following Q, a lot of us been knowing about the North Korea for a while. He dropped a picture of Bill Clinton and Kim Jong-un, his father, the old dictator of North Korea, and with the stormy water in the background. And now there's the new one with the beautiful orange, clear, calm waters. And, Kim Jong-un Jr., Kim Jong-un is still, puffing out his chest in defiance, but it's over. It's over. He got a freaking sword dance in Saudi Arabia. He got to visit the Forbidden City. I mean, come on. He's getting the biggest VIP treatment I think anybody's ever gotten. In places that most people, even the dirty people, were basically almost shunned.
Yeah, no doubt. Now, I guess what I meant more specifically, not that you guys didn't see it coming. I guess what I mean is because my source had told me back in November, North Korea was all handled. Like he told me straight up, he's like, it's all handled. It's not even an issue. Now I was like, okay, whatever. I guess what I meant was like the timing of when he reveals stuff is really something. Like you'll get the tips and you're like, okay, this is going to happen. But I think his timing and the way that it comes out and where you're just like, dude, like what? Like on this day at this time, this monumental thing happens, and they're not even, the mainstream media wants to completely ignore these incredible happenings. But I don't know, man. It's a great time to be alive. I mean, it's something that I talked to my father-in-law, 74-year-old Vietnam veteran, and this is something he thought he would never witness. He never thought he would ever see the end of at least this corruption or a majority of the corruption in this country.
That's how I felt as a young man, actually. I was awake to a lot of things, and I was just like, I had no idea, of course, how deep it went, but I just kind of saw it, and I felt like it's so completely just infiltrated every corner. There's no, uncorrupted place left, and I had no hope of seeing actual change like what's taking place right now, and it's the most mind-blowing thing.
Well, and this is something I talk to people a lot about too, is just, and it's something I subscribe to, is that, everything is cyclical and you're going to reach, all timelines have to come to an end. There's going to be a tipping point at some point on every timeline, whether it's good or bad. And I think that maybe thanks to technology, it expedited this timeline. It sped up the end of this timeline, which was the timeline of oppression and disjointed global politics, global economy, divisiveness. Now, it's not to say that we're moving into, ultimate peace globally, but I think this particular set of circumstances, this timeline that we're currently on, this paradigm is coming to a complete end. And it's very interesting to observe. At least for me, I find it fascinating.
100%. I'd like to open it up. We got a lot of people in here that would love to give you questions, and I feel bad I kind of taken over the floor a little bit. So anybody else like to ask Brenden Dilly some questions?
You did a good job, Redank.
Thanks, Broseph.
Well, first off, we like to thank you for being here, and we really do appreciate the time, bro.
Absolutely, my pleasure, man. I really like chatting with you guys. I always appreciate a smart audience, an audience that's kind of, open to a new ideas and certainly as educated as you guys. So it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Man, thank you again for coming. So we got questions, guys?
Yeah, I got a real quick one. I just want to hear what Brenden, your thoughts are getting a Nobel Peace Prize.
Honestly, man, I think that a lot of these prizes, you know what I mean? They gave one of that last motherfucker, and he was scandalous. Like he had no business getting a Nobel Peace Prize. Do I think President Trump is deserving of an award that recognizes peace? Yes. Do I give much credibility to things like Pulitzer's, Nobel Peace Prizes, and Academy Awards, and all these other aggrandizing? I not really anymore, man. I think they ruined that. I hope that we start coming up with new ways of honoring people like our president, who to try and develop peace in other parts of the world. But yeah, he's certainly deserving of some type of an award, no doubt.
I think that's a boom, man. He completely freaking ruined it by giving it to Obama, man. What the hell is that for, right? And the people he beat out too is just disgusting to see him get that. It's so just
I personally think it would be a nice FU to everybody that really didn't deserve it the last time around.
Oh yeah, look, I mean, the value of giving him a Nobel Peace Prize, even though we on this side of the equation don't really give them much credibility, is the fact that everybody on the other side does, and they'd probably trigger the shit out of them.
Boom. Boom.
Yeah, that's my wet dream.
Questions, guys? The floor is open. Come on, guys. All you.
Yeah, I got a question. Did you suggest that we go about the movement of the fight? How did you suggest that we keep fighting the censorship and everything that's going on?
I think that this is where you got to implement your strategy. There's a time to use a hammer, which is with that really raw, like unbridled truth, and you just beat someone right over the head with it. And it's like, it could be like the Hillary and Huma video. It's like, oh my God, it's like, that's dark, man. Nobody wants to you don't even really want to hypothesize on shit like that, because it's disgusting, especially if you got kids. Now, that being said, there's a time and a place when things like this need to be discussed. But I think that here's what I do in Your Voice America. This is what I try to do on my own scopes. That's what I try to do here for you guys as a speaker, right? The more you are mindful of your audience and giving them something that's relevant to them, the more likely they are to adopt your ideas. What I mean is, like, if you're dealing with somebody who has no interest or there's no tangible interest in global affairs, and you're trying to red pill them to President Trump, it's kind of useless to try to drive home the affairs. You got to find out what's the hot button for that person. What is it that is actually relevant to them, so that when you drop that red pill on them, it's tangible. It's something that they're like, that makes sense for my life. And this is something you can do you guys have got more than enough content. So if you want to, like, beyond your investigative stuff, if your objective is red pilling and sharing the information, making sure the general public understands it, start creating memes and content that is relevant to certain demographics, so that it hits home for them and they can grab a hold of it. Because the more you try to, like, get people to buy into something that doesn't to them, people are pretty self-absorbed, man. You got to kind of go to where they are, not try to get them to where you're at. And so that's kind of the objective, is in the place that they're at with relevant information that impacts that. And I think you guys will see a much warmer response from the more normie crowd.
You know, what's hilarious is that's actually the direction that I've been pushing this whole new channel when I created it, is basically to create focused fire topic videos, short, because normally people only have, 20 minutes to say to watch a video. So if they find a topic that interests them, there's so many Q-related current events that are mind-blowing when the mainstream media doesn't cover it. You won't hear about it anywhere else. And if you do, it's going to be some kind of spun out bullshit, So if you want the truth, you got to come to people like Brenden, Dilly, or, ourselves, Conspiracy Fact. And I heard you have a website that we'd like to get the link up and all that stuff, so people can make sure that they follow you and check out your website and everything that you have.
Yeah, my website is kind of a joke, bro. I haven't really worked on it. The one that you guys are going to want to check out, certainly for the news, I guess, is yourvoiceamerica.tv. Please check that out. Bill Mitchell put a lot of time into that website. It looks phenomenal. gonna have lots of good content on there. Personal stuff at the real and Periscope and I got tons of stories each and every way. I'm not working. So you're
a robot, bro. You're a robot.
Yeah. Brenden Dilly's a robot.
Russian bots, bro. Russian bots.
And that's my favorite too, is when some shit ass account with like Jennifer 7377855 with like 6 followers and like 12 total tweets is like bot account, and I'm like, really? Like, really? Like, are you guys not even paying attention to who you're spamming anymore with your bullshit bot hives?
Bro, you're killing us. That's exactly the truth that we're seeing all over all social media. It's crazy. It's crazy.
Oh, one of the worst bot responses I got. You guys, I got to tell you real quick. I had a dude the other day. I fired off a tweet. Minutes. The thing had like 200 retweets and like 300 likes or whatever, right? And this dude, who was clearly a bot, rolls in and he's like, all it said was, "Oh, based on the response to this tweet, it's obvious that you don't matter, bro." And I'm like, what? Like, what?
Hey, Brenden, I got a real quick question for you. So, assuming you take the election, what's going to be your first order of business?
Yeah, I actually dropped out, bro. I ran in that election. I ran in the special election that was through February 26th, 27th. Was looking to run possibly in November. If you guys haven't seen how much they spent on this special election, you'll see why I'm not running in November. I believe the Democrat has raised and spent upwards of $750,000 in a special election. The Republican is somewhere north of $600,000. Majority of that money is dark money. It's coming from out of the state. It's coming from corporations. Dude, I'm engaged to get married. I got 4 kids. I looked at what was going on politically in Arizona. We have one of the biggest swamps, dude. I'm not interested in running any more elections and losing. I ran in the last one. I was told the last one was going to be rigged. I was warned in advance. I did it anyway because I wanted to see it through to the end. And it was, in fact, rigged. It was exactly what I was told the outcome was going to be 6 weeks earlier. And so it's my gut that I can have more impact socially on this country from the outside of politics that I could wasting my time on Capitol Hill trying to get people to buy into America First and agenda.
What did you think during the election when they told us here in Arizona that our state was now purple and contested?
I was ready to start slapping fools.
I mean, that seems so weird though, like, because it was like you live here too, right? And really, the only liberal place is in Tucson.
But Tucson and downtown Phoenix, that's it. Like, those are really now. The one thing I'm going to warn you about: if you live on the west side in the district that I ran in District 8. I'm going to tell you right now, all of those cities on the west side that are south, going out towards LA, 100% are California transplants. They're lefties. All of Avondale, Goodyear, out that direction, Litchfield Park, Buckeye. Those are people transplanting from California who are just getting into the state and are camping out. You got to be careful out there because that is where the left is making their inroads, and that's where District 8 is at. That's why you've got a legitimate, the Democrat in that race has a legitimate shot against the Republican.
I can see that because it has definitely been moving over there, even though Litchfield Park has a lot of ex-military. That's
correct. And look, you're going to have that military, but when people come in from LA, man, in California, they're escaping that hellhole. And the first thing they see when they get into town is all these brand new, beautiful cities out on the west side that have some of the lowest cost of living. And they just set up shop right there. Boom. And now all of a sudden, the demographics change.
Yeah, you made that drive, I'm sure, down I-10 to California, and how it seems like when you get to California, it's the true desert where everything is died at.
Hey, man, that's no joke, dude. Like a lot of you guys don't even know my story, dude. I just got 100% custody of my daughters in January, and I got that in a California court, no less. Like, I went in there, walked out with 100% custody of my girls. But prior to that, when I moved to Arizona, I would drive from Phoenix, Arizona to Sacramento, California, usually sometimes between 7 and 9 times a year. I ended up making that trip, I think 60 times. It's a 12-hour drive just to pick up my kids for various vacations, summer, spring break, you name it. So believe me, like if anyone knows what that looks like, that feeling, as soon as you cross that border, you go from hope and from like legitimate, good America into third world status real quick.
And many people don't know, like in California, when you're driving up near Sacramento, they have literally like third world 10 cities where like people have taken like 10, put them together with tarps, and that's where they live at. And you're like, holy smack, is this really America? And it's California.
Yeah, no, man. It's I grew up in Cali, bro.
Stockton, Modesto, all the way out there down 599.
I used to live in Stockton, man. I used to live 2 blocks south of UOP over there.
Bro, I'm in San Diego, man, and I totally feel you though. Congrats. That's something to be proud of. I know that's really got to be close to your heart, man. Getting full custody like that. I've had custody of my daughter since she was 1.5 years, and that's the most fulfilling aspect of my life. She's my whole world, and it just brightens just everything in me that knows that she's gonna have a brighter future than anybody's had in millennia.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Well, my situation was funny as hell too, because the judge was a liberal Democrat. The attorney representing my ex was a Democrat. Shit was funny, dude. They called me a deplorable in court, man. That's no word to lie. They called me a deplorable. I started laughing my ass off.
That's a compliment.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But yeah.
To us, it is.
It looks like Brenden needs to move out to Phoenix.
No, that's one less of us here.
Bro, rent's killing me here in San Diego, man. It's ridiculous. The rent and the price of living with how minimum wage has been raising. Well, it is now, but I can't work now. But that's a whole other story, man. Let's talk about Deep State failing their ass off right now. How funny is that, right? They failed with Hawaii. They just failed trying to bring that plane down. They only killed 1. I mean, that's horrible. I feel horrible for whoever lost their life, and we're going to include them in our prayers. But one person out of how many they tried to attempted kill, and they shot down the engine, which, I mean, how many fail safes do they have for something like that happening, right?
And then another one today. Another engine failure today.
Are they doing that remotely? You guys know?
Well, they do have directed energy weapons and such like black tech weapons that we can't even completely confirm per se.
Brenden, check this out. The statistics, if I'm correct, there's only been 15 engine failures in the last 100 years, yet we have 2 in 24 hours.
Boom, that's a...
Yeah, but you could expect this, right? Like, this is expected. I mean, these people, this isn't even just about losing your wealth or your livelihood or your freedoms. I mean, this is getting stamped the fuck out. Like, you're gone. Like, you and everything that you represented is gone. Your ideas, your futures. Makes sense that you're going to see desperation. You're going to see people taking action like this.
Yeah, I came in a little bit late, but did you guys happen to touch on the McMaster's father passing away on Friday the 13th? Now that's being ruled a homicide?
Yeah, we're thinking that was like a message sent because of the circumstances of what happened, how the person died, and then how they said that it was an accidental death. When you could tell that it was, when you get from what they're saying, it was trauma to the head.
And Q's post was interesting on that. It sounded like when they lost McMaster, basically they lost the ear in the White House. And so they didn't have anybody there, and it seemed like possibly this could be retaliation.
My call on that is basically he flipped. They found out. They gave him an opportunity to, come to the good side, lose his job, and the cabal decided to go. Hey,
Brenden, were you aware about the whole incident with Hillary Clinton basically crashing JFK Jr.'s plane to have his seat in the Senate in 99, 2000?
Oh, yeah.
Basically,
for some
Trump,
time.
and that was basically the start of their animosity?
Yeah, I'm aware of that. I've been aware of that for some time. I think that there's a lot of this stuff that I think there's a lot of this stuff, man, that we're going to find out. It's going to be archived, and you're going to be able to verify a lot of it. But look, we know there's no way that she ever had a shot at running even for the presidency with that seat, and she would have gotten her ass kicked by JFK Jr.
There was no doubt in that. He was pretty much guaranteed to run. They loved him in New York. And then here comes Hillary Clinton, who can't run in any of the previous states that she's been to or anything like that. And then she gets to run there with an obscure rule that she just has to rent an apartment or some resident for 30 days, and then she's eligible to be on there. And so many people in New York were kind of like, what the fuck? Like, how is she on here? And they were going to go Democrat, so it was an easy win for them.
Yeah, no doubt. Bitch is surrounded by nothing but just bullshit. There's always something going on with her. She was even part of Watergate. She was associated with Watergate way back when.
She's had scandals since her lost for law firm. When someone said that at that time she was basically only interested in destroying the Constitution and being corrupt and self-interest oriented.
Well, what was interesting is how she got around the whole Robert Byrd incident. I mean, Robert Byrd basically was the top, level of the KKK for years, one of the most influential people of the KKK. A Senate seat comes open and everything, and suddenly Robert Byrd, it was an accident to be head of the KKK. And he doesn't say sorry for anything, but Hillary lets everybody know this is her mentor, and nobody says anything.
It's sick. That's not the only person she's called her mentor. I think it was Margaret Sanger. The one, you guys seen that quote, right?
Aleister Crowley, come on, these people are evil. They're straight Satanists. There's nothing, everything with them is just Satan, Aleister Crowley, and all the other bullshit.
All right, hey fellas, I gotta get running. I gotta do my family thing, but thank you guys for having me tonight, man. I always enjoy the conversations with y'all.
Thank you so much for stopping by, man. We really appreciate your time here. Stay safe.
Hey, you guys, dude, keep doing the job you're doing. You're killing it.
Thank you.
Hey, all the best to you, Brenden. Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
100%. Stay safe, Patriot.
That guy's legit.